I'm Mark Gilead, and this is your new favorite song here on AIM Country Music Television. My guest today, Duncan Daniels, has been making his mark as a rising voice in modern country music. Duncan is a gifted singer-songwriter with a knack for storytelling, whose 20-song CD topped 2 million streams within 2 weeks of its release. In fact, while most artists are metering their music out one song at a time, he's decided to present us with a bold statement as to who he really is. And topping 2 million streams this quickly makes me think he's done the right thing. Duncan blends a traditional country style with a fresh contemporary sound tinted with hints of R&B, rock, and blues. And today he's here to share his brand new single, a track that celebrates heritage, pride, and timeless country traditions. Now with a song that's topped 400,000 streams already, Cowboys wear Stetsons. Please join me in welcoming Duncan Daniels with what might just be your new favorite song. Welcome to the program, Duncan.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mark.
You're very welcome. It's nice to meet you today.
Yeah, likewise. I was so excited when I heard I was going to be talking to you today.
Well, fantastic. Well, you've been in the business for a minute or two. You have music out there that spans lots of styles. So I think it would be a good idea if I just back away and you give us the full Duncan Daniels story.
Yeah, I know it's so a lot of people look at my discography and they get confused, like, what does this guy really do? And it is kind of my fault, but it's a good thing because I've been able to connect with people from different backgrounds, and the brand message is basically that no matter who you are, where you're from, what language you speak, music is one unifying factors. It's that is that language that connects all of us together. It reminds us that we all come from the same place. And for me, what inspired me to make music in the first place was, the ability to, reach deep into someone's mind and, touch them in a very positive way. And it really didn't matter how I did it, as long as I was able to do that, that was, what really drove me, because, music changed my life in a sense that, when I started, why I got into writing music was to help me get out of, certain things I was dealing with. And then when I realized that it worked for me, I figured I could do that and share that with people and it would work for them. So that is, basically what I try to do with my music, regardless of, how I sing or, what genre or, how I communicate it. Yeah.
Sure. Well, fantastic. I'm detecting a little bit of an accent here. What's your background? Where are you? Where are you from? And where have you been? Tell us that.
It's so funny. Where are you from is one of the most dreaded questions that I get because because I have to pause and think about how to respond. And the short version is, I'm from a lot of places. I could say I'm from everywhere. But to quote Johnny Cash, right? I've been everywhere, man. you know. So I true story, I was born in Boston. I moved to England when I was 3 years old. So I didn't really get a chance to really know where I was born. And then I spent a lot of my formidable years in the UK, hence the accent. Um, Moved to Africa in my teens, and that's actually where I really got into music. And of all places to actually get in music with what genre I started actually listening to and really fell in love with and started writing music was country and rock, which is like, unheard of, where in Africa of all places. And it was interesting because I was very unique. A lot of people were, like, why do you listen to that? And I'm like, well, that's what I like, and that's what, I was listening to, the likes of Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton, all the, very classic traditional country music is what I was just so in love with, the storytelling and, the messages that, were coming out of those songs. And that's what inspired me to actually start writing. And then, when I moved back to the States, a lot of people got into my ear and I started listening to like people saying, you shouldn't do this you shouldn't sound like this because, you don't fit the, stereotypical person that should sound like this. And I bought into all of that. And that kind of made me lose myself for a bit because I started trying so many different things, trying to see where I fit in, not really staying true to, like, what I really, really genuinely fell in love with and how I started. So that led me into so many experimental things and so many genres just to find where I fit. And then, in the last, I would say maybe 4 years, and the older I got, I started realizing that, the best music that any person can do is the music that makes them feel good personally. And that's what matters, because if you can do that, if you can feel something, then everyone's going to relate to that. Everyone's going to feel what you're feeling when you make your music. And that's how I found my way back to country music. And I've been doing that ever since, writing. And, it's such a wonderful place to be, because when I write and when I sing and when I record and when I perform, I feel like I'm doing it for myself, you know, first, and then, people then, respond to it. But the ability to have that satisfaction when I'm making music, is what I've learned that is the ultimate goal.
Well, that's fantastic. And I've been going through your catalog, just playing nonstop to get a sense of your sound, and I hear overtones of a lot of different genres and artists in there, but I can't put my finger on specifics. Who would you list as your primary influences?
Oh my God. My primary influences has ranged from when I was a kid, I used to love Michael Jackson. Oh my gosh. I was such a Michael Jackson fan. It wasn't even just about, what genre of music he sang, but the way he was able to, again, pass a message, and that has been the driving thing. And if I listen to Meatloaf. I love Meatloaf a lot. you know, a lot of people, just who's Meatloaf? I know, like, this generation, but I listen to a lot of that. I listen to a lot of Aerosmith. I listen to a lot of Bon Jovi. I listen to a lot of Lenny Kravitz as well, growing up. And and then still the country music was kind of like rooted in a lot of this artist music, because a lot of that, sound, you could hear that in, progressive rock and classic rock. And so, tapping back into those artists that, really, really have messages that inspire and, cause change. Those are artists I always like to listen to and inspire me still to today.
Well, I wonder because I feel like you have a pretty unique sound, pretty unique voice. Your music, if like I say, I've been pouring over it, so you have there's a wide variety, but there's a sender there
Yes,
that
sir.
I can recognize as you.
Yes, and that is exactly what I love about me being who I am, is the voice is the actual thing. I carry the voice across my journey, throughout the different sounds. It's still my voice. And that's what I try to communicate, with people who sometimes seem to get lost in trying to figure or classify me. I'm like, stick to the voice, follow the voice. The voice is what you should be paying attention to. Yeah,
The main instrument. Well, this latest project
exactly,
called
exactly.
Honesty and Nostalgia, the deluxe edition, 20 songs and all. It's done really well. It's topped 2 million streams already. It represents some really good original country music. Several genres represented there, all pointing back to the country side of things. So, like, if I were to ask you how to describe your music to someone who hasn't heard you before, what would you say to pique their interest to get you to listen to you?
Yeah, I would say honesty. Honesty is, if you're looking for honest music, and I would say it's music that evokes a thought. And it could be a memory, it could be an experience you had, it could remind you of a loved one you spent time with, it could remind you of a moment you spent with your dad, or in a specific location. It evokes some kind of thought and emotion that takes you away from your present to, a place of sincere, honest feeling. And sometimes that get lost in all the noise that, you hear, today. People are living in the moment, and, and there's nothing wrong with, having a good time and, just, forgetting your sorrows, but sometimes, music needs to touch you in a place that, you know, makes you feel alive, from a deeper, quieter, aspect. And I think that's what my music does. It's honest and evokes some kind of nostalgic feeling.
Fantastic. Well, you're here today to talk about your new release, Cowboys Wear Stetsons.
Yes,
Why
sir.
don't you take a little bit of time here and tell us about its inspiration and before we play the video?
Yes, sir. This song is funny, and I don't even know if I should just go in and tell you guys the real story of this
Absolutely.
song. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, as you can see, I have a Stetson on, and if you look at all my pictures, I always wear Stetson hats, and I love the brand. And I've been wearing Stetson. I have lots of Stetson hats. I'm wearing them for a very long time, and even my wife has been like, I should, why don't you write a song, about Stetson hat, like? And I'm like, no, that's kind of like cliche. Why would I write a song about Stetson hat? So I kind of like ignored it for a while. And then, obviously, because I buy a lot of Stetson hats, I get a lot of Stetson hat ads that come into my, anytime I'm browsing, I always see something about a Stetson, So, sometime like last April, this year, um, I came across an actual Stetson ad, and on the ad they featured, and I haven't seen them do this often, but they actually featured actual black cowboy, actual real black cowboy. And, funny enough, stereotypical folks, it's weird to explain to people that they actually are black cowboys. It's like it doesn't make sense to me to have to explain to some people
No,
who,
it doesn't.
yeah. So, but apparently there are folks who don't understand that that's a thing. And, the comments on the ad were filled with so many, bias and racist, tropes about why Stetson would use or feature a black cowboy wearing a Stetson hat, and the ad. And, I saw that, and, I basically kind of like felt bad about it. And, I wanted to have a response to it. And my response wasn't going into the comments and start, typing to people and all that. That wasn't the way I could respond. The best way I could respond was through music, which is, how I respond to everything. So I decided, you know what? I'm actually going to make a song called Cowboys Wear Stetsons as a response to all of this. And then I was also going to make the song sound as traditional country as possible, not, try to do what a lot of, folks are doing to make it blend, or, to make it sound pop or, mainstream. I wanted to just find that essence of, just a simple old traditional country song and communicate a message, that, country, especially from my background, like your typical country artist is, he came from, let's say that he's from Texas, or he's from, Oklahoma, or, Ohio, all this, places where you just typically say, a country singer is from, but not me. I have had a different background. I was born in Boston, grew up in England, started making music in Africa, and, I'm here and I'm singing country music. So the point I was trying to make with the song is that country music is not, it's not, strictly, exclusive to where you're from. It's about what's in your heart and how you feel, and, what you want to contribute and what you want to do. Is that resilient spirits? Is that grit? Is that, essence? It's bigger than just a zip code, and in to tie that in, I used, Stetson, the hat, because once people hear, they recognize the Stetson hat. It's a very recognizable, thing to use to join everything. Plus, it leads back to the inspiration of the song, from, looking at that ad on Facebook, that Stetson ad on Facebook. And also, it was also a play on folks because a lot of folks will listen to the song on the radio before they probably see the video, and they really love this. They might really love the song, even if they might have those or have those feelings about a black person singing country music. They might love the song without really knowing as a black person singing the song, which is also a funny joke too.
It is. Yes. Come to see you on stage. There you go.
Yeah. And so that's it's a pretty interesting story. I'm a little shy about telling the story because I'm trying to keep everything like plain so everybody can. But unfortunately, we live in a world where people still harbor very ignorant thoughts and stereotypes about people based on where they're from, and it's on both sides. It's on every side. There is bias and prejudice. From there is even bias and prejudice within even countries where everybody is in the same looks the same. So so what I'm saying. And again, it goes back to the music being our unifying factor, being that language that everybody can relate to. And, that's why I keep doing it,
Well, I think it came out great. I think it's a song we can claim as an American, English, African country song. the way I see it, I think you stake your claim here, and I think we play it and say how good it is.
Yes, sir.
I'm ready to play it now. How about you?
Yeah, I'm ready to listen to it, vibe to it.
Great. You're watching Duncan Daniels' video for Cowboys Wear Stetsons here on AIM Country Music Television.
Cowboys can rope and can ride, yeah, cowboys can dance. Say yes sir and ma'am, do good when they have half a chance. Man, woman, or child, if your heart is wild, that's a horse that broke free on the plains. Then no man alive can tell you who you are, and I shouldn't have to explain. Cowboys wear Stetsons, country ain't a doubt on the map. Deep in your soul one more time for the folks in the back. Cowboys wear Stetsons, you don't have to question the fact. No, they don't ever fold, they don't do what they're told, except when they're resting. Cowboys wear Stetsons. Cowboys that live in the saddle don't hide from the sun. Tip their hat to their friend, hang it up when the workday is done. Yeah, yippee-ki-yo and yippee-ki-yay. What makes a cowboy at the end of the day? It's not a thing you can see, it's the heart underneath. It's a feeling they can't take away. Cowboys wear Stetsons, country ain't a doubt on the map. Yes, deep in your soul one more time for the folks in the back. Yeah, cowboys wear Stetsons, you don't have to question the fact. No, they don't ever fold, they don't do what they're told, except when they're resting. Cowboys wear Stetsons. Hey, yeah, cowboys wear Stetsons, country ain't a doubt on the map. Yes, deep in your soul one more time for the folks in the back. Yeah, cowboys wear Stetsons, you don't have to question the fact. No, they don't ever fold, they don't do what they're told, except when they're resting. Cowboys wear Stetsons. Cowboys wear Stetsons.
I really like that. I think it's interesting. On some of the higher parts, you sound a little bit like Kenny Rogers, a little unexpected to me, but like the some of the high parts of the choruses. Very, very good.
I've heard that before too.
Is that right?
Yeah, I've heard that too. I heard that too. Yeah.
I always hesitate to mention it because it's like, what, was it going to be okay to say that?
No, no, it's totally fine. I mean, I was inspired heavily by my big, and I probably should have said this on the call. So my biggest inspirations for country music is Willie Nelson, Kenny Rogers, and Johnny Cash.
There you go. Putting a mic in front of somebody tends to make them a little bit more mind a little more fleeting.
I don't know why I didn't say that.
Don't feel bad. You were not the first one for that to happen to. It happened to me yesterday. So
yeah, I mean,
well, with the inspiration of it and everything, when people hear this for the first time, what do you hope they take away from it?
When they hear this the first time, the message of the song, like we can all get along, like there's all this, and sometimes I think the media also fuels these feuds and this back and forth too, because I don't know, it seems like society likes, controversy more than they actually like, positive news. And, sometimes you just got to understand that that's kind of like that sells, it sells, right? So, there's just all this back and forth about who should sing country, who shouldn't sing country, or who's country versus who's not country. And it's just tiring. It really is. And
just remember, it's nobody's business.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that, people can listen to this song with an open mind to be more accepting, especially the establishment, Nashville is such a very hard place, and if you're not in a certain look and a certain idea of what it's supposed to look like, you're gonna get so much pushback, and I'm just hoping that that changes. I'm hoping that this song inspires that change, and
yeah, we're with you on that. That makes a ton of sense.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's try some rapid fire stuff here.
Okay.
If you were to describe your sound in 3 words, what would the 3 words be?
If I was to describe my sound in 3 words, I'm still always going to say honesty. I'm going to say nostalgia. And I'm going to say moving.
There you go. Yeah, those are 3 good words. I think all apply.
Yeah.
I love that question because that's one I can almost freeze everybody on. It's like you throw that one out there, everybody goes, If you could open for any artist, any country, past or present, who would you like to open for?
Right now, Chris Stapleton will be a good person to open for.
That would be a good one. Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
And because it'll be a good flow, in terms of sound. I'll say maybe Jelly Roll, only because I've met him and is a cool dude, and maybe hopefully one day, we get to do something together.
Yeah, that would be. I think that would be a dynamic duo.
Yeah, and then I'll say maybe Shabuzi, because Shabuzi is also we have the same background in terms of our families in the UK and in Africa. So and I know folks on his team too. So we haven't met in person, but I'm sure it's going to be a vibe.
It'll happen at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's one thing about you that fans might be surprised to learn? In my case, it's the accent, but what would fans be surprised by?
So fans would be surprised to learn this. So when I was 4 years old, I was a huge A-Teams fan. I don't know if you know the A-Team. The A-Team with Mr. T is a TV show on the.
Okay. I've seen that band with the big stripe.
Yeah, the band with the stripe on it. Yes, I was a huge. So we always used to watch the A-Team, and there was this one episode where they had to go they had to pull a surprise attack on some bad guy that was on a ship, on a cruise ship, and they did like they skilled the ship, the side of the ship with like the rope, and they were able to like break into the through the window and attack the bad guys, and basically. Anyway, that was such a wonderful thing to see at age 4 in the 80s. I mean, I was such a, and me and my sister had the brilliant idea to to replicate the scene. So we took some bungee cord ropes, and then we had this big, giant gate. Well, we were kids, so the gate was big. So we wanted to scale the gate with the rope. And long story short, it ended up with me losing sight in my left eye. So I got an accident. So I basically got one of the, it was in my eye, and that's how I lost sight in my left eye. So up till today, a lot of people don't know this, but I can only see out of my right eye. And I don't tell a lot of people that just because I don't want anyone to think of me different or see me differently, because I drive, I do everything, like everybody else, without any issues. And I've been doing that, all my life. I'm 42 now, and I've lived a normal life with that. But a lot of people don't know that. So that's something that will surprise a lot of people. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on your success so far.
Thank you.
I'm sure
sir.
there's a lot more to come.
I hope so.
Before I let you go, I'd love for you to tell us where to find you online, on stage, and where we can buy or listen to all of your music.
Thank you so much. So my music is anywhere you stream music. All you got to do is search Duncan Daniels, and you find my music. My latest album is called Honesty and Nostalgia. It's a 20-track album. I think you're going to love it. It's not, I wasn't trying to follow the mold, and I wanted to just, give you the music, and that's why it's that long. And you can get that album on vinyl. It's available on digital download as well, and you can stream it. And you can visit my website, duncandanielsmusic.com, or you can just go on my Instagram at Dunkish Rock. Dunkish Rock is the name of my independent record label, and it's DUNKISHROCK. And then you can click any of the links in the bio, and that will take you to my album. And then you can buy it, you can listen to it, you can share it. Most importantly, share it, because that's how people get to know about the music. So I appreciate that.
Well, that's awesome. I really enjoyed having you on the show today, Duncan. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me. This was fun.
You're welcome.
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, Duncan Daniels. So what do you guys think? Is Cowboys Wear Stetsons going to be your new favorite song? This has been Mark Gillia for AIM Country Music Television. Thank you for watching.
Yes, deep in your soul, one more time for the folks in the back. Yeah, Cowboys wear Stetsons, you don't have to question the fact. No, they don't ever fold, they don't do what they're told, except when they're resting. Cowboys wear Stetsons. Cowboys wear Stetsons.